Welcome to Place and Experience. Indulge your senses with immersive game titles. Boost the excitement with our engaging promotional tools and generous network promotions. Be in control with XI Viewport Management Tool and experience seamless gameplay powered by X Platform. Enjoy Place and Experience as our partners do in over 20 regulated markets. And get ready to go big. Big play is on.
Well, there you have it. And here we are. We're live. It's November. All of the leaves are gone on the tree behind me, and they won't be back until April. It's a barren and sad landscape here in London. But, Nico, I'm always happy to see you, and I'm always happy to be here doing weekly news. We've got an awful lot to discuss this week, but first and foremost, most importantly of all, how are you, Nico?
I'm still awesome, like any other week as well. Looking forward to a great time in Malta. So it's a little bit cold in Germany. Winter is coming. So we will attend all the Christmas markets here in Munich and all over Germany, even with the smallest towns. But I'm so looking forward to, heading over to Malta to see you live and in person. That will be a lot of fun. And as already mentioned so many times, if anyone sees us, feel free to actually speak to us as well. We don't bite. We are even more friendly live and in person. And this is what I'm so looking forward to.
Good. I'm glad to hear it, Nico. I don't know if you've seen the weather report for next week in Malta, but may I recommend you bring an umbrella and a raincoat, because it looks like we might be getting a little bit wet next week. So fingers crossed it's not too disruptive. Hopefully the weather will clear and we'll get a bit of that winter sun that we so crave here in the northern countries. Now, we've got a lot to discuss this week, Nico, especially as it pertains to the United States of America. That may come as a surprise to you. Perhaps you don't follow the news. But this week, for any of our listeners who haven't heard it yet, there was a rather significant, let's say, democratic event in American history taking place there on the other side of the Atlantic. It's going to have ramifications globally for many, many years to come, Nico. I am, of course, talking about the good people of Missouri voting to approve Amendment 2 and therefore legalizing sports betting in Missouri. So we're going to get to that in just a few minutes and dig, as always, a little bit deeper behind the headlines and find out what's going on here. And we've got other updates from the US. DraftKings has got a class action in New York. Elon Musk is facing a lawsuit for his sweepstakes giveaway. And we've got news from Bally's, little bit of M&A news there as well. So big US update this week. Of course, it's all anyone can talk about. So, Nico, we're going to get to that in just a few minutes. But before we do, I understand you've prepared something very special for us, as you do every week. It's an absolute fixture here on Weekly News. We simply couldn't live without it. And that is, of course, our biggest stories of the week in just a few seconds. So, Nico, why don't you take away your 10 in 5?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you. So Al Marjan project could pave the way for UAE to become fourth biggest casino destination according to Win. We are all aware of the 5.1 billion Will Al Marjan Island project, and according to Max Tapainer, who is the president of Win Al Marjan Island, the resort might join global heavyweights like Las Vegas, Macau, and Singapore as a premier gaming destination, potentially ranking as the world's fourth largest casino market. So it will be quite interesting to see first numbers actually flying in from UAE, but with being labeled as the potentially fourth largest gaming destination. We will see. Then Q3 2024, Catena Media reports a 33 revenue drop and negative EBITDA. Catena Media's Q3 2024 results painted a stark picture of steep revenue drops, shrinking margins, and tightening cash reserves as the company navigates one of its toughest quarters yet. The revenue from continuing operation fell by 33 year-on-year to 10.7 million, and total EBITDA slid into the red at minus 1.4 million euros, with a negative margin of minus 13%. Still staying in the reporting landscape as Super Group eyes special dividend following an exceptional Q3 results. Publishing its Q4 account, Super Group registered corporate revenues of 403 million, which is up 13% on 2023 comparatives of 356, as results represent the highest revenue recorded in a third quarter. So shout out to Super Group. And to quote Neil Manesh, who is the CEO of Super Group, he commented, "We achieved our strongest third quarter ever, highlighting the phenomenal progress we are making as a business. There is still tremendous potential as we experience super growth across the global casino brands, particularly in Africa, which we have scaled to be our largest region for the second quarter running." Heading over to Bally, we touch down now on the numbers, but during our intensive talk, we will even dive deeper as Bally Q3 results see revenue fall. In its newly published financial results for the quarter ending September 13th, 2024, Bally's has revealed its consolidated revenue reached 629.97 million, which represents a down of 0.4% according to the numbers Q3 2023. The net loss for the quarter was 247.855 against the loss of 61.8 in Q3 2023, and adjusted EBITDA was 166.33. We have an official statement by Robinson Reeves, who is the CEO of Bally, which reads as follows. During the quarter, we secured a critical 940 million construction and financing agreement with Gaming and Leisure Properties, shortly GLPI, which positions the company to move forward with the construction of our flagship permanent casino in the heart of downtown Chicago, America's third largest city. And we touched on the market of Chicago so often during the 10 and 5, but so this is what they actually did. They secured a significant amount to secure the building. So going over to Kambi, as they have been hit by a soft Q3 margins, as Werner Becher begins the reorganization. Kambi Group posted a 43 million euro in revenue for Q3 2024, which represents a modest 2% increase compared to Q3 2023. Approximately 90% of this revenue was generated by its core sportsbook product, with the remainder coming from its modular products. However, Werner Becher, the new CEO, also addressed the mixed results. An official statement reads as follows. One of my observations prior to taking this role was that although Kambi had seen some large operators move away in recent years, it is still delivered growth, albeit modest, during this time. This gives me great confidence that through the ongoing diversification of our products and partner roster, we will increasingly reduce the potential impact of future partner movement and create a much more stable base for long-term growth. So we will see how this one will turn out. Heading over to South America, as Brazil, the Ministry of Justice requests more information from betting applicants over player protection plans. The Ministry of Justice and Public Security, MJSP, in Brazil has contacted 7 betting operators requesting clarification over their plans to protect vulnerable customers. According to Vadi Demis, the National Secretary for Consumer Affairs, the aim of the MJSP and Senecon request is to ensure companies are acting within the restrictions of the law. Official statement reads as follows: the increase in promotional practices and bonuses can make consumers vulnerable and expose minors to a universe of risk. And that's why they demanded and contacted 17 betting operators to just get further information on how they will handle it. Heading over to the M&A world, as Live Sport finalized their acquisition of B Soccer. Live Sports has completed the acquisition of Spanish football-centric live score statistics and news provider B Soccer. The strategic move is a clear indication of Live Sports' ambitious to grow its market share in the sports tech industry, and will see the addition of some 25 million monthly users to its customer base searching for real-time sports data. Martin Hajek, the chairman of the board at Live Sports, B Soccer's acquisition will significantly strengthen our position in Spanish and French-speaking countries, where B Soccer holds a strong user base. 25 million monthly users is for sure a strong user base, so fingers crossed it will all work out. Then, Virginia, nearly 82% of Petersburg residents vote yes on Kurdish casino proposal. Nearly 82% of Petersburg residents have voted yes to the referendum to bring the Kurdish company's mixed-use live gaming and entertainment to the city. The positive vote greenlights Kurdish 1.4 billion live casino and hotel, which is said to be built on an undeveloped 100-acre site off Interstate 95 in Petersburg. And 2 more to go. German regulator declares market a success and success story amid criticism. Speaking at the Gaming in Germany conference, Joint Gambling Authority of the States, GGL, board member Venter highlighted the body's role in the establishing well-regulated gambling market since the 2021 State Treaty on Gambling was implemented. Bentner said, "We were created as an instrument to ensure sustainable regulation and create a stable, secure market for all players. With its approach, the granting licenses and supervision, the GGL ensures equal and fair competitive conditions among all permitted providers and protects players." And 1 more to go, as KSA warns 3 operators over sponsorship violations. The Dutch gambling regulator Kansspelautoriteit, KSA, has announced that it has issued warnings to 3 operators for breaches of advertising rules. It said the operators had sponsored sports events and related clothing which were visible to minors. And statement reads, "It is up to the provider to make clear agreements with external parties. This includes the use of sponsored materials, the time at which messages are shown, and the way which they are distributed. In addition, it is up to the provider to ensure external parties adhere to these agreements." This has been my 10 and 5.
Ja, dat is heel lekker, Nico. Dat is een goed goed. Ja, de Kansspelautoriteit, het is heel goed. Right, nice. Very good. Let's give a shout out to Roger, Mian, and Ross on LinkedIn. Hi, guys. How's it going? Thank you for joining us. And to Woot Boop on YouTube. Nice to have you with us. Now, we are going to move swiftly on, as already mentioned, to our main story of the week, Nico. I alluded to, of course, the US election taking place this week. But it wasn't just the new president that Americans have been voting on. We've also had a vote in Missouri, which is going to have significant impact on the gambling industry. So we are pleased to report that Missouri will become the 40th jurisdiction in the US to regulate sports betting after voters very narrowly approved Amendment 2 on the 6th of November, which was yesterday. The Missouri Secretary of State office reported yesterday that voters had backed the amendment at the polls, which would legalize sports betting under a new regime with a 10% tax rate on GGR. Now, we want to talk about narrow results, Nico. Never mind 52-48 for Brexit. This is proper narrow. According to unofficial final results from the Secretary of State's office, a statewide margin of 7,486 votes made the difference out of how many? 2.9 million. So it was close. I believe that the losing side can still lobby for, and if it wants to cover the cost, can still ask for a recount on that because it is so close. But as far as we can tell, it's going ahead. So following legalization, there will be 22 online betting licenses up for grabs in Missouri. That will include one for each of the state's 13 land-based casinos, one for each of its 7 professional sports teams, and 2 mobile-only licenses. We've seen this many times before, Nico. The sports teams and the casinos tend to enter into partnerships with the big players in this space, the DraftKings, the FanDuels, the BetMGMs. So we'll see how that pans out. Anyway, the Missouri Gaming Commission will now be charged with establishing regulations and analyzing license applications for a market launch likely sometime in the second half of 2025. So sometime in the next 12 months, I take it, Nico. Pretty quick timeline, actually, if you look at some of the other states who've kind of dragged their feet a little bit. Pretty quick. Now, what does this mean for the sector in general? Well, as I'm sure you're aware, this will be the only successful attempt to legalize sports betting in a US state in 2024. So there was a kind of stall in the efforts of people to get it legalized because there's been some kind of backlash just in society and in the media. Not everyone is too happy about sports betting being legalized, as you can tell from the fact that it was so close in Missouri. But the tide is turning. You can't stop the waves of sports betting coming across America. That is now 40 out of 50%, out of 50 US states. I think the difficult thing for operators at this point is that the states that still haven't got it are some of the biggest ones. I'm thinking about California and Texas here. That's where the real money's going to be. But every small state that gets, closer to that brings the whole market closer to total legalization. But maybe there are some states it will just never happen. We don't know. Anyway, let's have a look from some comments from the winning campaign. The winning campaign was called Winning for Missouri Education, and their whole kind of lobbying was built around the fact that the money generated from sports betting taxes will be put into Missouri's education system. So, spokesperson for the campaign, Jack Cardetti, said, the fact that people in Missouri attempted to make 11.1 million sports wagers in just the first 7 weeks of the football season shows just how much Missouri are missing, and specifically our classrooms are missing by not legalizing sports betting. What he's saying is, if all these people could place bets and they could be taxed on their revenue, we'd be making a fortune. Amendment 2 will legalize sports betting in Missouri and ensure these funds are reinvested back into our communities, particularly in our education system. So here's a spokesperson for this campaign. You may be wondering, where did the money come from? Well, it might not be that surprising, Nico, to hear that the victory followed a campaign pitting FanDuel and DraftKings. You see, they're rivals, but only when it doesn't count. That's when they really can come together. When they all have a common goal, they can come together. They both supported the pro-amendment side. I think they spent upwards of about $40 million. But curiously, Nico, on the other side of the fence was actually Caesars Entertainment, who operates casinos in the state, three casinos in the state, in fact. But I believe it wasn't too happy about the proposed licensing structure. I think they wanted to get a license for every one of their individual properties rather than one license per operator or something like that. Anyway, Caesars wasn't happy with the proposition as it was, so they were on the anti side. But all that added up to, on both sides, more than $100 million spent, which means it was the most expensive ballot initiative in Missouri state history. So clearly, these companies are feeling pretty strongly about this one, Nico. So they're willing to spend the money. I know they spent $500 million in California, but of course that would have been a much bigger market. Spending $100 million in Missouri, which comparatively has got a very small population, is a little surprising, I think. Big costs. Anyway, one thing I should point out, just for context, is that there was actually another gambling-related bill on the ballot as well. So a separate campaign would cleared. This was this Amendment 5? It was. Amendment 5 was a separate bill to allow Bally's to build a land-based casino on the Lake of the Ozarks, and that failed by 52.6% of the vote to 47.3%. Still pretty tight, but not nearly as tight as Amendment 2. And just wanted to point out some commentary from Brendan Bussman, a gaming consultant who's super hardworking guy. He works about 25 hours a day. Every time I go to a trade show, I see Brendan running around from meeting to meeting. He's very deeply involved in all this stuff. And he warned, as we have seen before, again, talking about California, Nico, if you have two gaming ballots side by side, they can just kill each other sometimes. There is a danger of that happening. You give people too many choices and they just say, no, never mind, don't want any of it. So there was a risk of both of those bills getting sank. Anyway, it's not the happy news for Bally's that they wanted to get, but it is obviously positive news, I would say, for the sector at large. Deep breath. There you go. That's Missouri. What do you think? Give me something. I've got to stop talking.
So what's quite interesting, if you just read in between the lines, and once again, there will be 22 online betting licenses for grabs, including one for each of the state's 13 land-based casinos, 7 professional sport teams, as well as 2 mobile-only licenses. Right? So guess what? FanDuel and DraftKings being in the run for sponsoring, and there will be only 2 mobile-only licenses being handed out. Guess what? Where they're given to. Way! So that's quite interesting to just see this. Okay, we're sponsoring it all over the place, and then by accident there will be only 2 mobile-only licenses being given out. So that just is very, very interesting. As only the man, that's hilarious. I just love this fact. But getting back to what you already mentioned, with more than 100 million spent on both sides, and you just compared it to California, where 500 million had been spent on both sides. Missouri, compared to California, is 1/10. So California is 10 times larger than Missouri, and Missouri, based on the GDP, ranks in at position 22nd all over the 50 states of the US. It's slightly smaller than Arizona, so it is considerably a big market as well. And as you already pointed out, although it is considerably a smaller economy compared to California and Texas and Florida, which is ran by a monopoly of the Seminole, it is still considerably big. So that's why people actually, or the DraftKings and the FanDuels of this world, actually spend big money there to actually get things going.
Yeah. And the other thing is, Nico, like we said, there's only 10 states left now where they've got anywhere, any lobbying to do at all. So I think it becomes much easier to put that investment into a single state where you think the chances of legalization are best, compared to 5 years ago. Maybe there were 10 states that you were thinking about, 15 states where you wanted to get into, So yeah, but it's kind of it's kind of surprising in some ways to see just how much it's costing still, these lobbying efforts and these campaigning efforts to get these things over the line. And even with all that money spent, only 7,000 votes made the difference between nearly 3 million votes. So obviously a lot of strong opinions going around in Missouri, but that was our main story of the week. That's the biggest thing that's happened in America this week, as far as I can tell. So we should move on to our second story. We've got 3 more little bonus stories for you today, and the first one, speaking of DraftKings, Nico, is all about DraftKings in New York. I know you've been looking into this one. What have you got for us?
Yeah, so first of all, DraftKings is facing a class action over a misleading $1,000 bonus. And if you want to dive into this one a little bit deeper, don't forget to scan the QR code, which is visible on your screen, as Zach reported this week that a class action suit was filed in late September against DraftKings, alleging the company misled customers about the terms of its 1,000 deposit bonus promotion. The complaint filed in New York State Court was brought by plaintiff Naye Aminov on behalf of himself and other DraftKings customers in the state, and accuses the company of deceptive and unfair business practices related to its marketing of the sign-up bonus. The action is similar to the December 2023 Public Health Advocacy Institute lawsuit filed in Massachusetts State Court, which also challenged the legitimacy of the sign-up bonus. According to the lawsuit, DraftKings heavily advertised the 1,000 deposit bonus to attract new users to its sports betting platform. However, the company allegedly buried the actual requirements to qualify for the full bonus in the fine print. To receive the 1,000 promotion, customers were required to immediately deposit $5,000 and then wager at least $25,000 within 90 days across various DraftKings products. So the deposit of 5K, you need to actually, reuse that money 5 times in full, which makes a total wager of $25,000. The lawsuit claims these conditions made it virtually impossible for the average bettor to realistically obtain the full bonus amount. To give you slight insights from how these things are usually handled in Europe, usually you have to actually reuse the bonus sum 3 or 5 times. And the bonus sum would be the $1,000. So the overall wagering requirements would add up to $3,000 to $5,000. So $25,000 is really, really hard to actually gain. But the complaint said DraftKings advertisements did not fairly inform new users that the deposit bonus is calculated as 20% of up to $5,000 of the new user's first deposit. DraftKings failed to fairly disclose that consumer needed to immediately deposit $5,000 and then subsequently bet at least $25,000 to qualify for the 1,000 deposit bonus. The lawsuit claims the company Sorry. The lawsuit claims the company intentionally structured the bonus in this manner to unfairly maximize the number of customers who would sign up and place bets on its platform. Aminov is seeking restitution of all money lost by affected customers, as well as punitive damages and an injunction against DraftKings illegally deceptive marketing practices. So this might be quite interesting to see, especially as the user base in New York, where this lawsuit has been filed, is quite big and huge. So what do you make out of the story, Connor?
Honestly, Nico, if it wasn't so depressing, it would be almost comical. It's absolutely outrageous. I think when you're in a mature jurisdiction like the UK, and you hear that the companies here talking about, let's move away from getting all our revenue from a handful of VIP customers. We want recreational players betting a small amount but frequently and engaging with the brand and having fun and enhancing their sports experience. And then DraftKings says, we've got a bonus offer for you, but you need to give us $5,000 to get it. For me, it's an outrage. I just think it's so cheeky, and I just don't think you would ever get away with that in somewhere like Britain. There's absolutely no chance. And also, as a punter, I just think, oh, fuck off. Sorry to swear, it's so annoying though, but you should get 100% deposit bonus if that's what they're offering. They should match your money, and then they can put wagering requirements on. So bet $100, get $100 free, and then if you want to actually withdraw the $100, okay, you got a 5 times wagering requirement. Fine. These terms would infuriate me so much as a customer that I'd want to sue them. I can totally understand it. I don't know whether it will come, who's going to win this lawsuit, because at the end of the day, I think the lawsuit argues that the terms and conditions were hidden. Sorry, Russ, I didn't mean to flip out on you there. Russ says red card. Yeah, foul ref. Anyway, I think at the end of the day, as long as DraftKings lawyers, and I'm sure it's got lots of very talented lawyers working for it, as long as they can prove that the terms and conditions were set out in a clear enough way, then probably the lawsuit will fail. I don't know, of course, but as a customer and as a regular casual bettor, this kind of thing really grinds my gears, mate. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know. What was your take?
No. Especially, you pointed out a very, very valid argument. So usually, and this especially happens or at the black market operations, right? They double your initial deposit. Pretty simple. So bet 100, get 100. Pretty simple. It's not like bet 100, get 20, right? So this is just. Maybe that's just based on the arrogance which DraftKings and FanDuel might have in the market, where you actually are the leading group, but for sure it ain't customer friendly. So let's put it this way. And for sure, you will get way better bonus offerings if you just type in at Google sign up bonus, deposit bonus, whatever. So they will not market like get 20% of your initial deposit bonus. Especially, we're talking about New York, where one of the initial bonus offerings was a 3,000 deposit bonus. And this wasn't deposit deposit 30,000 or 15,000 and get 3,000. It was deposit 200 and play with 3,000. This is also, if you just follow the NFL regular broadcast, where FanDuel is actually like bet for $5 and get a deposit bonus of $200. So this reads a little bit different than deposit 100 and get 20. So we will see how this one turns out. But for sure, it ain't a strong marketing hand to actually being sued for this kind of practices in the US.
Yeah. For me, it's also just the numbers involved. It for me is totally anti-responsible gambling. I really do think that. And I think when you have a new product like this, I know it's not. I know sports betting's not new, but in New York, regulated sports betting was a new thing. Not everybody there was going to be involved with it. And so I think when you introduce a new product to the market, what you do kind of frames it in a way. So if you're DraftKings and your first advert going out to New York is deposit $5,000 and get $1,000 bonus, like it frames $5,000 as a perfectly normal amount of money to wager. Whereas I think usually it's more like bet £10 and get in Britain, it's more like bet £10 and get your money back as free bets if it doesn't go right. And that's how we frame it as a much more casual offering. And I think that's right because I think that's what it is. It's a bit of entertainment. Nobody should be, $5,000 for most people. If you looked at the average wage, even in New York where people earn a lot of money, I'm pretty sure $5,000 is still a very significant amount of money for most people. And for me, it goes totally against responsible gambling, I think, and I don't like it at all.
But getting back on that specific point, so usually this reads as a maximum of 5,000 deposit will be, incentivized with a bonus of up to 1,000. So if you just deposit 100, you will get $20. But still, if the bonus is valid for a deposit of up to $5,000, this is also where your responsible gaming comes into play. So this is a bonus we've not seen anywhere close in European legalized gamings, as it's usually deposit 100, get a 100 in addition as well. So getting 1,000 euros, whatever this is linked to, this is not something we have seen in any mature market.
No, and I don't think they'll get away with it for much longer in the US if they're still doing offers like these. I don't know. I think it's sort of it maybe feeds into something around American attitudes towards gambling as well. I remember speaking to some US gambling business owners, and they said that Americans are much more geared towards viewing their bets as investments than we are. For us, it's more of an entertainment product. They kind of think that it's a real investment, which is why, if you're buying stocks and shares, 5,000 as a framing for that is kind of sensible, or a little more reasonable. But 5,000 for sports betting for me is a little bit crazy. If I tried to deposit £5,000 into my sports betting account, I would hope that my operator would say, "Are you sure you want to do that, Connor? Usually it's like £10 or £20. But anyway, right. Yeah. We've got a quick video message to share. Go on.
One additional thing. So we will see how this one turns out. So as long as DraftKings is using the services of Harvey Specter, I'm pretty sure they're getting away with it. As soon as they're signing up for Louis Litt, won't work.
Yeah, they're going to get lit up. That's right. Okay, that's good. That's good popular culture reference from 9 years ago. Well done, Nico. Very up to the minute. Okay, we're going to move on to our third main story of the week. We'll be back with you in just a few seconds. But first, we have a little short video message to share from one of our partners. Isn't that right?
Tens of thousands of games, tens of thousands of games, hundreds of studios, dozens of Hub Market partners, an industry-leading Hub wallet, and just one API. Hub 88 is connecting businesses to a world of limitless content where the possibilities are endless. Hub 88.
And we're back, and thank you to Hub 88 and, of course, to Playson for sponsoring this episode once again and keeping us coming back every single week. Nico, I'm having so much fun today. I never want it to end. But all good things must come to an end. We've got 15, 20 minutes left. We've got a couple of big stories still to look at. And the next one is all about Mr. SpaceX Tesla himself, Elon Musk. There is a lawsuit challenging Elon Musk's $1 million election sweepstake giveaway, which was remanded back to state court on Friday. So forgive me if this is a little convoluted, but it follows Musk launching a $1 million per day giveaway to swing state voters backing his pro-Trump Super PAC, PAC, which means Political Action Committee. So it's a kind of campaigning group. But the giveaway has been accused of being illegal by its critics. So the U.S. Eastern Pennsylvania District Court remanded the case back to civil court, which represents a defeat for Musk, apparently due to the less arduous process plaintiffs face when litigating cases in civil court. So if it had gone federal and to the higher level, then it would have been easier, I think, for Musk. Instead, it's going to be easier for the plaintiffs. Who are the plaintiffs? Well, Philadelphia DA Larry Krasner in the city's Court of Common Pleas filed this case, alleging that Elon Musk and his America PAC are conducting an illegal lottery in violation of Pennsylvania law. The lawsuit alleges that the prize draws would need to be regulated by the state in order to be lawful, as well as accusing the PAC of violating state consumer protection laws. Okay. And the lawsuit said, and this is important, Nico, to be clear, this is not a case about whether defendants have violated state or federal laws prohibiting vote buying. That's a totally different issue, which is also, I'm sure, going to go through the courts pretty soon. Instead, this case is very simple because America PAC and Musk are indisputably violating Pennsylvania's statutory prohibitions against illegal lotteries and deceiving customers. That was a bit of a mouthful. Anyway, alongside the daily $1 million election giveaways, Musk announced in early October that voters who signed the PAC's petition in support of free speech and gun rights would earn $47. That amount was later raised to $100. Anyway, the complaint has requested the court to impose an injunction that would prevent Musk from committing any more alleged violations. Meanwhile, on a federal level, the Department of Justice reportedly warned the PAC last month that the voter giveaway could be in breach of federal law as well. So I think there's a bit of litigation coming Musk's way, Nico, but I also kind of think at this point, given that he was a huge Trump supporter and fan, and will now, in fact, be presumably taking some kind of power within or adjacent to the US government, I feel like he probably doesn't really care. What do you think? He won, so he's like, wow, we'll deal with the lawsuits now, but we won. I don't know. What do you make of this?
First of all, even in the US, they still have a working legal system. So if the DA, so the district attorney, already filed a lawsuit, I'm pretty sure that actually a court will at least look into the allegations, etc. As soon as it comes to non-licensed lotteries, which it obviously reads based on what we've just heard, which is the unlicensed gambling operations, and people all over the world in licensed markets, they don't play around. So if it is actually or could be seen as a unlicensed lottery, then of course there will be consequences linked to this one as well. This is how a regular and working as said legal system actually works. And if one thing is for sure, besides Germany, the legal system in the US is working.
Good. Well, I should hope so. I didn't want to suggest that he won't be charged with anything or he won't be fined. Anything could happen from the courts. What I'm saying is, I think whatever the price he has to pay, I think for him it will be worth it. He'll say, well, at least we won the election. It's like, again, Brexit, when we did Brexit here and the Leave campaign totally broke every electoral law and spending law in the book. And then they said, yeah, but we still won. So we'll deal with the ramifications now. That's kind of how these things seem to go. There may have been some bending of the rules, let's say.
Yeah. One thing is for sure, we won't see Judge Dredd taking the lead in the courtroom. That's for sure.
Oh dear. Right. Okay. No Judge Dredd. No. So that's just a quick update on Elon Musk. Head over to next.io if you want to get the full details, of course. And kudos and shout out to Zach, our fabulous senior reporter, for bringing us that story. Now, we have one more story to go, Nico, and I believe you mentioned the results earlier from Bally's. You've also been looking into this little update because it's not the only news we had from Bally's this week. What have you got?
Yeah, so as you already mentioned, so we've looked into the Q3 of Bally's, and Bally's Corporation has penned a deal to sell its interactive business in Asia and certain other markets to a company formed by members of its management team. So we see a management buyout, which is quite interesting. The deal penned last Thursday, so just after our weekly news. That's why we didn't touch down last week. But of course, we're giving you the greatest and latest news affecting our industry, especially as soon as it comes to M&A business. So the deal penned last week, Thursday, involves Bally's management purchasing the assets for a note and will see certain intellectual property placed in a trust and licensed to the buyer for a 5-year term, subject to extension. Bally's will also provide the new company with certain transition services, although the operator did not outline specifically what services. It comes as Bally's continues towards its own 4.6 billion merger with a hedge fund, Standard General, after it accepted an offer from the business earlier this year. It is unclear whether Standard General mandated that Bally's sell the assets as part of the deal. Bally's said in an SEC filing that it will not have a role in management, operations, or governance of the carved out business. The transactions is intended to allow Bally's to focus its capital and resource allocation on North America and European business. And this carved out business will benefit from focused management attention and aligned ownership. The financial impact of the transition is not expected to materially affect Bally's adjusted EBITDA of free cash flow, the business said. While it is expected to reduce Bally's revenue somewhat, the company said this will mitigate it via cost cutting, including a simplification of the company's organizational structure. Asian Interactive was a relatively small part of Bally's business, but it had recently experienced issues with CEO Robertson Reeves, described as several logistical and operational hurdles, which directly impacted players. So it seems like they're just diversifying their portfolio and moving out of Asia as they are focusing on their US market with the heavy investment into the casino in Chicago. So what do you make out of this story, Connor?
Yeah, it's not something we see that often where you get a management-led buyout, but just picking up on those comments that the CEO made, they were back when they released the Q2 results. So probably about July, he said that. And I think obviously you kind of have to work out where you get the best return on your investment, where you put your time and your resources. Obviously, the money's a big question, but actually these companies also have finite resources. They only have so many people and so much bandwidth. And if you have a small area of the business which is demanding lots and lots of attention, but isn't returning a great deal of results, well, sometimes it's better to spin that off and kind of get rid of it, and you can refocus on your core markets, which I think is what Bally's is doing. So it's also interesting to see that the Bally's, the involved management team, bought the assets for a note, so they won't actually go out of pocket. They're kind of, it's kind of lots of a kind of multifaceted little agreement here. So what was the other thing? The intellectual property will be placed in a trust and licensed to the buyer. There'll be a note, there'll be transition services, and then I guess in 5 years' time, if the business is a success, those management can repay the value of the note, or if it all collapses, then I don't know exactly what will happen. Nico, you probably know your financing better than I do. But yeah, I mean, you got to wish them luck. I think it does happen occasionally. I've had a couple of friends who've done similar things, and I think made a success of it. I think, you know, when you've got one small part of a business that you know inside out, and the rest of the business doesn't really see what's going on in there, and you know how to run it, and they don't want the headache of it, it seems to me like a really sensible option. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's totally correct. It's also, if you give the management team a chance to actually buy into the business, first of all, they are showing skin in the game, which was also a reason why Toto Wolff invested into the F1 team of Mercedes AMG Petronas as well. So he bought 33% of the shares. And this is how you actually emphasize your management team to even go beyond the 100%. And with a statement of it was sold for a note, this just reduces the risk of the buying party. This could also be part of a bonus scheme as well. So we don't know the details as of now, but one thing is for sure, as soon as Zach or anyone else of our great journalist team will have even more information, we will share this information, and then maybe we will get even more insights on this one as well. But this for sure sounds like a bonus, an upfront bonus, and this is usually a good thing.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it goes, and we'll keep an eye on this one, as you say. Well, what a lot that's going on in the US this week, and it's not just election news. There's also a lot of industry news, so that's why we wanted to come here today and share that with you all. I want to say thank you to everybody in the comments, Whoop Boop and Peter on YouTube, and Ross and Roger and Mian on LinkedIn. Thanks for joining us, guys. We love it when you come and keep us company here. And anyone who's going to be in Malta next week, if you don't have our numbers, give me or Nico a shout on LinkedIn. Come and find us. Come and say hello. The beers are on you, because we bring this to you for free every week, and we never ask for anything in return. So please, we'll be more than happy to accept any tips or any beers or free food. We're pretty easy, isn't that right, Nico? But until then, I'm getting there Sunday. Nico, you'll be there Sunday for a few days. I'll be there all week. Anyone who is coming, like I say, remember your umbrellas, remember your raincoats, because we might be getting wet. But either way, I'm looking forward to a good week. And Nico, I'm especially looking forward to seeing you live and direct and in person. So lots to look forward to.
True story.
That's it. That's it for this week, everybody. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Same place next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.